Hello YouTube, D-Deckin here, and this is sort of an impromptu video because just a couple minutes ago, after about 2 hours of just non-stop dueling, I finally got to DLvMax in the Casey Cup Grand Tournament. As you can see, I've already technically started the qualifier. I just wanted that first duel to put myself in the rankings so that I can just get the rewards later, but that said, what are my overall thoughts? As always, like with any sort of Casey Cup or any variation of it, the event is always extremely stressful, and that's the one thing I just really don't like about it, because, like, climbing up the ladder is not too difficult. It's when you get to the very top, where, when you get to the very top, it can be very unforgiving. Like, you can have a decent deck, like, I'm casual, so I don't have, like, 20 different copies of every single card, but, like, you can have some great matchups, get all the way up there, and then you either get a bad matchup or you brick like 3 times in a row, and then you just go back down. Like, I'm not kidding. Twice during this tournament, I got all the way to duel level 24. Duel level 24. First game, bad matchup. Okay, fine. Second and third game, bricks. Went straight back down to 23. Like, got 3 duels out of 4 wins, back up to 24. Same thing, went back down. It's very stressful, but I finally did it, and unfortunately, during the duels, the character I got went up to DLvMax, also went up to max level. Which, what I usually do is when I play ranked duels and whatnot, I take one character, I pick one deck, and I play that character in that deck, whatever it is, and I try to get them to DLvMax. That's what I do for. So after this, I'm gonna have to start playing a new deck. But for this one and the last Casey Cup, I've been using Vendrit Shiranui, and I have to say this is. I have played some really stupid decks, and this is no exception. This is a very stupid deck. Even though I managed to get Casey, like I managed to get DLvMax with this stupid deck, but but this is not a great deck. Let me start by saying that this deck can very easily brick. In any scenario, when I get multiple Shirnuis in the hand, that's never really a fun time unless it's Squire. Like, but so in addition to this sort of being me ranting about the Casey Cup, not Casey Cup, Casey tournament, this is also me saying sort of a farewell to this deck, because again, like I said, this has been my favorite deck to ever play for multiple reasons. Like, I really love Vendrit in the real life card game, and at the same time, Vendrit in Duel Links and Vendrit in the real life card game are two different beasts. And although Duel Links can very much play like the real life card game, you have to respect that there are definitely some differences. Like, for starters, the boss monster in the actual card game, the boss monster of the deck is Vendrit Slayer, because Vendrit Slayer can. In the actual card game, you have access to links, and synchro summoning is a bit more easier with Unizombie, so there's a lot more you can do in the actual card game. But with Duel Links being so much limited, the boss monster isn't Slayer. The boss monster is freaking Battlelord. Battlelord is just amazing in general, because number one, he's a rare, so easily you can get 3 copies of this, and you can basically play that as the only thing you're going to play. Like, Battlelord is just amazing. Like, and also, once per turn, you can banish a Vendrit card from your graveyard, which can be the ritual spell you summon it, but you can banish a Vendrit card, and you can just turn something off. So he's so versatile in almost any matchup you play. Like, if you're going against oh gosh, I want to say Greykeepers, and they set their Spy, or their, Chieftain, the one that bounces cards, that's basically a Grand Mole, but they set those cards, they pass, you summon Battlelord, you turn off their monster cards, you run that thing over, or actually, yeah, or Blue Eyes players, they set their Stone of the Ancients, you Battlelord that monster effects, you kill it, and they don't get their spirit on the next turn, which is nice. And also, Fortune Lady Every, like, Battlelord, turn off monster effects, kill Fortune Lady Every, she doesn't revive during the end phase. Now, granted, if you can't win the next turn over, they can then revive her, but that's another conversation right there. But, like I said, this has been my favorite deck. Originally, I didn't play the Shiranui engine in this deck, and that was before last Casey Cup. I played more of a Glow Up Bloom Plague Spreader. Like, I had Sinkers in the deck where I was playing White Aura Dolphin, and I think I didn't have Brio Neck at the time, but I probably could have played Brio Neck now if I'd played it, but um very fun, very fun. Now, I do want to mention that honestly the lifesaver of this deck has to be the fact that has to be the straight to the grave skill. And what it basically does is you start the duel with Wastelands on the field. It's basically Yami Yugi's Yami and Seto Kaiba's Mountains, but for zombies and rock type monsters. And the reason that's really good is that little extra, to anyone who's experienced with this game, that little extra light attack point boost can go a long way. Like, for example, Battlelord's base attack is 27. With Wastelands, he goes to 29. Fortunately, Every is a 2800 attack point monster, so right there, Battlelord can just edge over her, and it's amazing. And also, I guess in some scenarios, your what's it called? Squire Saga. Squire Saga starts at 23. She then goes to 26 because Wasteland's on the field. Same thing with Slayer, and it's a lot of. It helped push the deck along. Now, granted, if you go against Blue Eyes or you go against a Dark Magician player who knows what they're doing, Wasteland is not staying on the field, unfortunately. but it's still fun the minute you get it. Just the early game of having it. That's also probably another thing I should mention. So, again, I am playing Shiranui with this deck, and not gonna lie, Shiranui, well, not lying in general, just a proven fact, Shiranui is a 4-card engine. It's a 4-card zombie-based engine that you could put into any zombie-based deck and it works. And the 4 cards are literally one copy of Solitaire, 1 copy of Squire, 1 copy of Spectral Sword, and 1 copy of Shade Spectral Sword. Ugh. And the reason you play those 4 copies is because depending on your matchup, you can easily interchange what you're doing. Now, granted, any game that you open Squire Saga, or Squire, I guess, you can easily go into either the 3 or the 2. Now, if you go into 3, you basically go into Squire Saga and you have a background popper. If you have Squire Saga in your hand and you want to thin your deck, you can go into the 2, and then you can technically make the level 6 Samurai Saga, and have a 2700 beat stick. Well, 25 plus 2 because of the Wastelands, but 25 plus 2 beat stick right there. And that's just with 1 card. That's what makes Squire Saga very powerful, and no doubt why they limit this card to 3, of course. Now, I would say they probably should hit this a little bit more because, again, having a 1-card Synchro Summon is really stupid, but nevertheless, then of course you have your 2/4 for Wombo combo play, and even if you open Squire, and even if you open Solitaire, to anyone who's experienced with Vendor in the actual card game, he can still technically get you a Zombie Tuner. I believe it's any Zombie Tuner with 0 defense. And I believe also Glow Up Bloom is also available too. So even if you want to throw him into a Glow Up Bloom variant of deck, he can still net you a tuner. And he also sacks any zombie to do this too. So in all actuality, if you have like any of the vendors already set up, like your Ritual or even just a random Strix for whatever reason, you can sack him to go into Shade to then make a Synchro into 7, or if Strix is live, you can sack Strix, go into the 2, and then revive Strix to go 2/2/4 into the level 8, and that's another thing too. With Spectral Sword, you can also banish Slayer to go into the 8. This deck has a lot of fun synergy, but again, I do have to mention, this deck can brick. I have bricked many times in this deck. Like ideally, you want to open with Revenant Evolution because another thing about this deck is that it thins so much. Where, like Samurai Skull, you can either send a Ritual, or you can send Hound, or you can send your Spectral Shade. You can thin your deck. You use Evolution to Ritual Summon either Slayer or Battlelord. 9 times out of 10, you want to go Battlelord because there's a lot of 4/3 and 3/4 combos that you can make, that you can just thin your deck with, and then Evolution kills the Ritual, and then when the Ritual dies, you either search a Ritual, or in Slayer's case, you search a Ritual spell. And you thin your deck so much with this deck. And that's what I love about it. Like, the consistency with it. Like, you can open a decent hand, and then you can pull into a whole other game next turn. Like, I guess that's a running theme for me. I like toolbox decks. Like, I love decks that have a bunch of different options that let me play it with. which actually makes me worried about what I'm going to be playing next. Like, there's a part of me that wants to play Inzektor, and there's a part of me that wants to play Double D's, but I'm not quite sure. Like, technically, Inzektor requires you to either use up a lot of your gems, which I actually have plenty, but either you lose up gems or you use your card tickets, and I'm not sure if I want to spend that just yet. I don't know, unfortunately, but like, not to mention, alright, so maybe I should probably talk about the matchups. Like, Dark Magician, there were 3 variations of Dark Magician I would face. Dark Magicians that knew what they're doing, Dark Magicians that bricked, and Dark Magicians that did know what they're doing. Dark Magicians that did know what they were doing, they either managed to... If I were to set up Samurai Skull, and they would not target Samurai Skull with Circle, they would target Wastelands or anything else, because Skull's effect is when he leaves the field by opponent's card effect, you summon a zombie from your deck. And needless to say, that lets me go into Goseki, which can summon a zombie from my hand and let me stall for a turn to then go into Ritual next turn. That can let me go into that let me summon either Spectral Sword to set up Wombo combo play, and there's a lot of different things that Circle banishing Skull can do, which is what I've seen a lot of players do, but nevertheless, a good Dark Magician player doesn't do that. They just run it over because a 25 beat stick beats a 17 minus 0, 17 plus 0 beat stick any day. So, Dark Magician, however, in many scenarios, I've had a lot of Dark Magician players, when I'm going to Battlelord, and I have to forcefully use Slayer plus Anima, I do have a lot of like Dark Magician players that will banish Battlelord, not knowing that I sent an Anima to the graveyard. And Anima basically says you banish the card from the graveyard and you revive a banished Vendred, which in that case, because the ritual summon was live, I get my Battlelord back. But this time, he's not going to die because of evolution. So there's a lot of scenarios where they don't know that, and I'm able to take advantage of it. In terms of Blue Eyes is definitely hit or miss. Like, if I can make Giganto Castle, or if I can make the Shogun Saga, generally I'm fine. Even if I do like a big Wombo Gumbo, big damage play, I'm also fine. Also, my last matchup, I managed to do a lot of damage to a Blue Eyes player. Like, I love the fact my level up game was a Blue Eyes player. Now, they did rage quit, so I don't know if I might upload that video later, but like, if I can make a big monster, then I'm fine. Otherwise, Battlelord can, again, early game, turn off their stone to stop spirit. Otherwise, big monster, you'll need Wombo Combo, or you'll need either Spear Karibo or World Legacy Clash. There's a few different options for it, but if you can't get it, then it's kind of a tough game. Now let's talk about Necro Valley. Let's talk about Necro Valley and Ishizu. Anytime I faced those two, I almost always lost. Because if they weren't playing Gravekeepers and immediately playing Necro Valley, if I didn't manage to get rid of that stupid card, I auto-lost. Because, without question, this deck relies on the graveyard. If they turn off the graveyard in any sort of way, I lose. Like, and Ishizu also has 2 annoying skills that immediately also turn this deck off. No mortal can resist. Basically means I can't summon or banish from my graveyard, which is kind of what I do with this deck. So, there was one game I managed to barely squeeze by, but most other games, that literally is, I just lose. That's basically what it turns out down to, and it really sucks that I think one of my level down games from level 24 was literally an Ishizu player who no mortal can resist when I could have ritual summoned on the last turn. It's like, I could have won, actually. That was a game I could have won if she didn't do that. And then there was one, I forget what it is. There was one skill that she has that turns all the zombies and all the cards in my graveyard into Summer Skull. Which, again, I could have summoned again and on the next turn and just won, but so annoying. So annoying. Like, any game against Ishizu is just annoying. Like, I really, like, it's just because of that, there's probably going to be no point where I DLvMax. I max her out in a ranked duel. Like, I hate Weevil, and I'm probably going to use Inzektor Weevil at some point, but, like, at no point do I ever want to play Ishizu because of this. Like, It's annoying. Like, I understand it's good, and turning off Graveyard is good, but Necro Valley, when... favorite hero. Like, I didn't see as many favorite heroes as I probably should have, but anytime favorite hero just summoned Necro Valley off, 9 times out of 10 I lost. Like, there was one game where that literally stopped a Neos player from using their fusion card and Graveyard to save them from destruction, and I was able to run the Ramontra over, but nevertheless, like, most of the time, again, it turns my deck off. Like, I probably should run a Cosmic Cyclone, I probably should run this, I probably should run that, but in most scenarios, like, if I can't get Squire Saga to just destroy it, I lose. Like, it's annoying. And again, this deck does brick. But nevertheless, I love Vendred. I loved playing this deck. It's going to be sad to let this go, but nevertheless, I actually did it. In terms of extra deck, this is very straightforward. Armades definitely came up once or twice, mostly because my opponent never really mechs it. Like, technically, I make it with Spectral Sword plus Hound or Shade plus Strix, so he is technically possible. There is a new, like, Shiranui synchro I could probably run, but I also don't want to open that box anytime soon. Like, I'm not interested in it. Like, I've got 9,000 gems, and maybe I'll make a box opening video with those 9,000 gems, just because, like, I think the cap is 9,999, and the number of gems you can have is, like, 10,000 minus 1. But, nevertheless, how is the KC Cup going for you? Again, this is not a great deck, but I managed to do it with this deck. But, what about you? Let me know in the comments, and have a good night.